to place our faith in God, and
Yeah.
that he's watching over us, and he's providing us with opportunities, knowing what is best for us. Just relying upon that guidance really has been the biggest thing. It was a massive risk for us to come out here. We really leaned on our faith. It was a leap of faith, a literal leap of faith.
Yeah.
Uh, it turned out wonderfully. Life for us has been a vast improvement for myself, especially. I get to spend I get to spend time at home. I'm not out shagging 911 calls as a police officer. I get to spend time with my kids,
Yeah.
have those important conversations. So I think my biggest takeaway, and this is part of the reason we started the podcast as well, it's just to rely upon our faith and know
Mm.
that as so long as we stay true to ourselves, speak our truth, and acknowledge God and everything it is that He wants us to do on His behalf, that all works out as it should in the end.
Jeremy and Melissa, you guys are awesome homesteading family behind Good Simple Living. You're the host of New World, Old Soul. You're absolute world changers. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I like to kick things up by going back a bit. Like, where did you guys grow up? What was childhood like for you?
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I grew up in the Seattle area, super traditional, went to public school. I was
Yeah.
homeschooled for a little bit, and then I went to public school for high school. I don't know, grew up riding horses. My story is kind of boring growing up. It was very traditional. Jeremy's story is more interesting.
Oh, you put me on the spot now.
Yeah.
No, so I was born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. I grew up surfing, going to the beach, doing all that fun stuff, everything you think of when you think Hawaii. Ended up moving here to the mainland to Washington State when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
Finished up high school there. Ended up going to just a community college. Melissa and I started dating at age 21, right
Yeah.
before I turned 21. We started dating. We ended up falling in love, getting
Oh,
married, and having four children. Fifth is on the way, and that's
Come
us
on.
in a nutshell.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I grew up in Tri-Cities, and my wife and we met in Renton, and we lived in Covington for a long time, and then moved to Idaho in 2014.
Nice. We
okay.
lived in Renton for a bit.
We
Oh, you
did. Yeah.
did?
Yeah, but I was
We,
in the police academy.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we lived up in the Fairwood Apartments up there, Fairwood Pond Apartments for a while, and then we bought a house out in Covington in the ghetto of Timber Lane. Out there is
Wow,
where we live. So
nice.
Renton was a little dicey for
totally,
sure.
that's awesome. I always love that your videos have like this encouraging message at the end of the videos. I love that you put that in there, but like, where did that come from? Like, you do this great long, awesome message in the video, and then you finish it with this cool, encouraging message. What's the thought process behind putting that in there?
Actually, I would love to say that I just came up with it myself, but I grew up watching the Waltons,
Okay.
and that was just something we watched as a family. And then the girls and I like to watch called The Midwife, and they both kind of end it with a message that just sort of wraps up the story
Yeah.
because we do very little voiceover. And so sometimes I felt like our story was left incomplete and it just like ended. So I
Yeah.
like have just kind of that little wrap up, a recap, and then an encouraging message going forward for anyone watching.
So cool. I love it. I went back and started watching like some of your older videos from the original homesteading videos that you guys put out and put together when you were out in Washington, right? And it's
Oh,
always funny that to look back at the old videos, even myself, being doing podcasting since 2017. But I mean, now your channel has over 500,000 subscribers. When you first started putting those videos together, did you have any idea what the potential of the growth, and what do you think has been the major growth, aspect for you to get it to where it's at today?
Never imagined that it would happen for myself. We didn't really have a firm grasp or understanding of the space whatsoever.
Yeah.
As far as it growing and it performing relatively well, I don't necessarily know. We just, we try to put out a positive message like you referenced a second ago,
Yeah.
document our lives. And I mean, to be completely honest and truthful, the fact that anyone watches is still astounding to us, I think, even to this day. So it's a
Yeah.
tremendous blessing. And of course, we're incredibly grateful for it. But yeah, we're glad people enjoy it. We just do our best in putting something positive out into the world.
yeah, we're
Come on.
kind of accidental YouTubers.
Totally.
Like the only reason that I even started posting to YouTube, I didn't even know what YouTube was, but we were selling breeder rabbits and vegetables out of our yard. And I thought that if people who were buying food from our yard felt connected to their food, that maybe I would get more buyers. And
Yeah.
so I started showing myself planting the food and actually processing the rabbits. And then it became where I wanted to show people how to process their own rabbits because they always wanted to come over and process rabbits in the yard. And I'm like, what if I just make a video and then I can just direct everyone to it?
Yeah,
And I posted them for just, people in our area. And I didn't realize there was a global audience on YouTube because I didn't consume any YouTube.
sure.
And then all of a sudden, the video got 1 million views and we had 10,000 subscribers overnight. And they were like, would you like to monetize? So that was how it all started.
Wow.
And we had no idea that there was actually an audience out there, or that that was a thing, that you could be a YouTuber. That never even occurred to us.
Yeah. Wow. What a cool journey. I mean, and Jeremy, you were, like you mentioned, you were a police officer, I believe it was what I saw. And before moving to Idaho, you were that, but you guys went from 1 acre to 20 acres. And I know that takes a lot of faith just to like move to another state and not know anyone. My wife and I did the same thing there. But how did you come across the property that you guys are on? And what's going through your mind when you're reaching out to your family and saying, hey, we're going to move from 1 acre to 20 acres in the middle of nowhere? Like, what was their reaction?
I think their reaction, depending on who you're talking about, was a little baffled and astounded because
Yeah.
for them it seemed to come out of nowhere. But as far as how we found the property and ended up here in North Idaho, I played soccer back in college, and we were actually playing North Idaho College, and they moved our game up to Sandpoint, to the stadium there. So we played that game, and I just have this vivid memory of taking a shot on goal at one point. The ball sailed way beyond the goal, and the sun was setting, and you're looking out over the lake, and it was so picturesque down there in Pond Ray,
Yeah.
and it really just stood out as such a vivid memory because I thought it was such an awesome, beautiful place. Everybody was so friendly, and so I always held on to that. Later in life, when we were trying to figure out where it is that we wanted to shop for our forever home, our forever property, I mentioned this to Melissa. We came out and visited, and she kind of had the same takeaway, and so we started our property search there. We were very blessed to find this piece of land that we're sitting on here now. And that's really how we ended up here. But as far as our family goes, I think with moving here and not having any distant family nearby, I think, like I said, they were a little astounded. The entire concept and idea of us moving to an empty field, and abandoning familiarity, our family, our career,
Yeah.
Toilet.
stability, a toilet. To them, they were just kind of confused. But I don't know. It's what we wanted to do. We felt called to be here, and
Come
so
on.
it's all worked out very favorably.
Love it. I love it, man. It takes a lot of faith to do that. And that's awesome that you guys took that step out there in your faith and just went on all out for it. Um, like you mentioned earlier, you guys have a new baby coming on the way. That's awesome. As you guys are figuring out or finding out that you're pregnant with baby number 5 here, like what's going through your mind and your thought process on that?
Well, it definitely wasn't planned.
Yeah.
And our daughter just turned 18. And literally the month she moved out, we figured out we were having a fifth baby. People are calling it all kinds of funny things, like
Sure.
our,
Tiebreaker, baby.
yeah, but there was another funny thing where it was like our, oh gosh, I don't even remember, but I mean, like, it's like, oh, you're a geriatric, like all this stuff. It's just so different than being pregnant in your 20s when everyone's
Sure.
expecting it. You get that same shock. When we had Nevaeh, everyone was really shocked because we were really young. And we got that same kind of response. They're like, oh, you're so old. So I don't know. This is going to be different, but we're excited. We're up for it.
Very excited, even though it was unexpected. We're ecstatic. I know you're a man of faith,
Yeah.
and we started giggling to ourselves upon figuring out the fact that, hey, we're having another child here unexpectedly, and we put our trust in God and the fact that he's doing right by us, taking care of us, watching over us, and so yeah, it's just very very exciting time around here.
I loved in the video, Jeremy, when you're like, I still got it. Like
Still
when you
got
said
it.
it.
Oh yeah.
I was cracking up when you said
So you've never seen a man more proud of himself.
it. Right. That was so good. I was cracking up. I mean, now you guys have this other podcast though called New World Old Soul. I love this. What a great podcast name, by the way, too. I love talking to other podcasters. Why did you guys decide to take that step into the podcast world there? And then what's been your favorite part of having a podcast so far?
I, I think for myself, I think I just kind of had an appetite. I had a craving for conversations with people. Maybe attribute that to the fact that we do live so isolated. I just find learning from others to be so fascinating, hearing
Yeah.
others' perspective, and I think that's my favorite part of it as well. Is just being able to glean from others and feel inspired. I'm a big podcast listener, and so it just kind of seemed like a natural transition given a lot of the internal desires that I was having as far as reaching out to people and really just ultimately just being inspired by others, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had to talk me into it. Like when he
Okay.
first, I was like, I don't know. I don't think so. Like I really kind of shut it down at first, but it was kind of Jeremy's passion project. I know that he loves podcasts, so I thought, well, okay, we'll try and we'll see. Like I figured it would just kind of fizzle, but it is kind of addicting to hear people's stories and also just to be able to speak your mind. On Good Simple Living, we don't do a lot of talking and expressing as far as like our feelings go. A lot of people don't even realize we were Christians, which makes me feel really bad that we didn't share that just in words. And I guess my dad kind of pointed it out to me. We made a Christmas video a couple years back on Good Simple Living. We do like a Christmas special.
Yeah.
And then I did my little wrap up at the end and everything about childhood memories. And he watched it and he's like, well, you didn't even bring up God. Isn't the whole point of Christmas Jesus? And I was like, at first I felt attacked and defensive about it. Like, geez, Dad, just enjoy the video. But he was so right. He was so correct. We were hiding, not purposely hiding, but we were unintentionally hiding it to be more commercial and to appeal to a larger audience, to appeal to our sponsors. And then when we did the podcast, I was uncomfortable. I had Jeremy take stuff out. We had a whole little talk about being pro-life and sanctity of life and things. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know that I'm really wanting to put that out there. It's so divisive. And I had him chop it from a podcast early on. And it just didn't sit right with me after we were like, I was like, why are we hiding something like this? And so now I've learned to just be more honest and get comfortable with people not liking you or agreeing with you. And there's so much freedom in that. And then it becomes addicting of like, okay, this is good. Like I'm speaking truth now or my truth. And it just feels good to be able to be honest in that kind of a back and forth conversation. You just don't get that with the vlog.
No. Yeah. I love podcasting. It's kind of like the wild, wild west, right? You can say what you want, you can do what you want pretty much. But I love that you guys can talk about your faith openly. And for me, I'm 45. I didn't share my story publicly till I was 39 years old. And here I've been podcasting since 2017. And about 4 months ago, I just felt God saying, hey, man, I love what you're doing. You're talking to these big guys like Ed Milet and Bradley and all these guys, but you're not talking about me enough. And so I shifted the focus about 4 months ago to really start talking intentionally about Jesus and the relationships of my guests and how they're having, to balance that life with Jesus and family and business and how you do all that. And so I love that you guys tie that together in there.
Yeah, it does take a little bit of time. When you first start doing it, you're worried about building an audience. You're worried about whether or not people are going to like you. That negative feedback really stings. And then you get braver and you start to build your own audience where all of a sudden you realize, okay, I'm not the only person who feels this way. And it is so important to share and be honest. The world needs it.
Yeah.
I love that you guys have always included your kids in your videos. And I think that makes it super authentic. And what an awesome journey that they've been on. Your daughter, Nevaeh, like you mentioned, has her own channel. She has 80,000 subscribers on there. What's been the biggest lesson that you've learned as parents through your journey so far on the whole move to Idaho and homesteading and seeing your daughter grow into like an awesome YouTube channel herself?
I would say just again, to go back, just to place our faith in God and that he's watching over us and he's providing us with opportunities, knowing, what is best for us, just relying upon that guidance really has been the biggest thing. It was a massive risk for us to come out here. We really leaned on our faith. It was a leap of faith, a literal leap of faith. It turned out wonderfully. Life for us has been a vast improvement for myself, especially. I get to spend so much, I get to spend time at home. I'm not out shagging 911 calls as a police officer. I get to spend time with my kids, have those important conversations. So I think my biggest takeaway, and this is part of the reason we started the podcast as well, it's just to rely upon our faith and know that as long as we stay true to ourselves, speak our truth, and acknowledge God and everything it is that He wants us to do on His behalf, that all works out as it should in the end.
Yeah, I think also with family, something that we've learned as we've gone is don't turn your life into content, which is really easy to do as a family vlog. We don't like to call ourselves a family vlog, but realistically we are. Our kids are in it. And we're like, no, we're lifestyle, but really we're a family vlog. And there was a massive pushback against family vlogs showing their kids, monetizing their children, their Christmas mornings, their everything. And so we're kind of learning as we go what to show and what not to show. And we have discussions about that. Like, it is so addicting because people want to see more and more and more of your family. And
Sure.
so when your kids are doing something cute, you're like, we should film this.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, everything becomes possible content. And now the lines are blurred between YouTube and your real life. And I feel like people can lose control of that very, very easily.
Yeah, it's about striking a balance for us. We have a lot of discussions amongst ourselves about how much we show, how much we don't show, and we don't want to be making memories with our kids while looking through a
Right.
camera lens.
Totally.
You know, we really try to limit the amount that we involve the kids in what it is that we do, and never make them feel as though they have to be performing per
Right.
se. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a mistake we made early on. There were literally times when they would say something, we'd be like, can you say it with more energy? We
Oh.
never do that anymore. And looking
Yeah.
back at that, like, I guess I feel kind of ashamed that I did that to them, that I even made them re-say something or little skits that involve them. Like I was watching an old video a couple years back and they were like, yeah, mom. And like it was clearly a funny skit, but just the fact that I drug them out of their room, had to do it over and over again. It's lessons we've learned along the way. Don't turn your children into your content. Your videos should never rest on them being in the videos. They should be able to walk away completely.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, what we kind of like about the podcast is if they want to come on, they can, but it doesn't rely on them at all. They're the children, we're the adults.
Come on. And do you guys edit your videos yourselves or do you guys send that out? I mean, because they're just so done very well.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we do everything. We always tell people jokingly that this is just a mom and pop operation because we handle every aspect of what it is that we do online, whether it be the recording, or the scripted portions. I mean, it's a massive time investment, and we handle all of it ourselves. The marketing,
Wow.
all the research, anything and everything we do ourselves.
Yeah.
So awesome. In one of your, like, I guess in the whole videos of where you guys are putting up the house and the frames all together, like yourself and making mistakes. Really funny thing is I grew up, my dad just said, pay people to do things. So I never learned how to fix a tire or do things. My wife, she was raised by her grandfather, who was a shop teacher for 30 years. So she knows how to use every tool. And so I watched those videos. I'm like, man, I could not do what you guys did. Did you guys have a background of framing or anything like that? Or how did you guys learn to do all that?
Not at all. And you absolutely could do it. And I tell people that all the time because that's a very common response. I'll be, yeah, but I'm like, hey, if we can do it, you can do it because we had absolutely zero, very little experience. The biggest thing I had built prior to tackling this living space that we're in now in our home that we're in now was a 12 by 12 shed. And so a lot of learning happened there. It didn't turn out great, but very limited experience. And so any task or job that we tackled, like I said, we just do a lot of research. And for that, I would rely primarily upon YouTube. I'd pull up a bunch of videos, whether it be, hey, how to put up a tile or how to frame. I would just watch as many videos as I could, take some notes along the way, and then do the best that I could. Obviously, like you mentioned, we made a number of mistakes along the way, and those serve as great lessons as well, as far as how to where now I feel like we're pretty capable and we can tackle most jobs.
I love it. My wife and I, we went down to Mexico when we were first married to go build homes. And, she'd be like on the table saw and just doing lots of stuff. And I'm on the roof, like bending nails because I can't nail it straight. It's like, I'm like, what's going on here?
It's all a part of the process.
It is, for sure.
Totally.
Yeah. We built a tiny home first, and we're so thankful that we did because it was good practice.
Yeah.
If we had just tried to tackle the house, oh man. Yeah.
So good. Now, you guys are just on Matt Walsh's show. How was that trip? What was that experience like for you guys?
That was a little surreal.
I was going to say surreal.
That's some of the really great things that have come out of the podcast is we're finally being honest about who we are. And people are like, oh, what happened to you? It's like nothing happened to us. We're just now dropping the veil. We're not being commercial. We're just being real now. And it has created some really outstanding partnerships.
Yeah.
And so now we don't have to worry about sponsors dumping us because we're working with like-minded sponsors, conservative Christian sponsors. And Daily Wire came around and we kind of couldn't believe it. We're like, really? And then they invited us to some events. And now we were able to do the podcast with Matt Walsh. And we're still kind of pinching ourselves like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
How are we able to do this?
So cool. I love it. And like, we're big fans of Matt Walsh here and podcasting, it just opens a door for those partnerships, collaborations. I mean, some of my best friends today are folks that have been on my show. I've never met them in person, right? But like built these awesome relationships with them, gone on trips and stuff like that. And I actually look at podcasting more as a legacy thing because I wish that I could go back 3, 4 generations deep and hear my great grandfather's voice and hear his story. And I can't, but 4 generations deep down my line, they could look back and go, great great grandpa Erik was a bad mamma jamma, and he, was able to get out there and make some change in the world. So yeah, I love the whole realm of podcast. For me is huge for me.
For
Are your
sure.
kids now? Nevaeh's doing the video, but are your other kids wanting to kind of go into content creation, or they kind of have other things in mind?
I don't know.
Kira brings it up, but she's kind of like, I'm gonna make jam on YouTube. Like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
think I think the other thing, which we were speaking to Matt Walsh about, is when, cops' kids become cops and firefighters' kids become firefighters. And a little unfortunately, they have watched us come up on YouTube and do well. And I don't want to put a false sense of you just put a camera on yourself and now you can make a living off that, because it's very difficult.
Totally.
And so we don't want that to be their only plan, because they think that's just what you do.
Yeah.
So you have to love it, because if you don't love it, you're gonna hate it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so much work, and it can be very thankless at first. Like, you start posting stuff and nobody's watching and you're not getting monetized. And I don't want them to get discouraged and then think, what am I going to do with my life? So we're trying to expose them to a lot of other things.
Yeah.
I think if any of the kids besides Nevaeh gets into it, it would maybe be Eli, our youngest, because he's a lot like Nevaeh and he's very outspoken and a little mouthy. Like, he'd probably be a perfect talking head. I could see him podcasting down the road. But as far as the middle two go, I kind of don't think they will.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of hope, well, not that they don't, but I hope they kind of find their own way and develop their own passions and pursue that. We always talk to them about the fact that we try to support them with opportunities. So whatever it is, that they ultimately fall in love with as far as work goes, I hope that's what they do.
Right.
And if it's not YouTube, hey, better yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your guys' Christmas toy drive. That's going on right now. Can people still donate to that? Can they still help you out with this?
Yeah. We're raising funds and we're filling the hospital toy closet and then adopting 25 pediatric cancer families. This is year 5, and it's for the Childhood Cancer Coalition. They serve North Idaho, Eastern Washington, and Western Montana. So a really large area. They're serving 182 children right now.
Yeah.
So their need is great. They're a private organization, so they don't get any federal funding or anything. It's all private donations.
Wow.
So when we first found them, they were pretty lean. Their toy closet was empty. It was barren. So we kind of adopted them every year, and all of our subscribers really come through. So we're going to be running this year's toy drive through Halloween, and then we're closing it down so we can organize it all and get it to them.
Okay. Sweet. And then if someone wants to donate to that, do they just mail it up to the address that you guys list on I think it's YouTube channel. You have your address on there.
Yeah, if they want to donate financially, they can write a personal check to the Childhood Cancer Coalition and then just mail it to our PO box.
Cool. I want to make sure we promote that and get everybody aware of that, because I love what you guys do, and it's been cool to watch those videos, and each year is like more and more toys that you guys are delivering. So it's so cool to see that you guys are just doing some amazing stuff there. I like to finish the show with a fun question. I'm a big music guy, so I love to ask questions like, what kind of music do you like to listen to, or do you have a favorite band that you like to listen to?
Oh gosh. My kids always say Mom hates music. And they're always playing music and then singing and dancing and stuff. And I'm like, turn it off, I'm editing. And so they're like, Mom hates music. But I don't know.
I was going to say, I couldn't wait to hear what you were going to, how you were going to respond to that.
I know. I don't know. Maybe I do hate music.
I like music. I listen to all kinds of music. I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite bands, I really like 90s alternative rock, like Foo Fighters, even like Metallica, stuff like that. But I'm kind of all over the place. I mean, I grew up in Hawaii, so I like reggae and Hawaiian music.
See, this is the thing. I feel like I don't get to pick any music. Either the kids are playing their weird music, which they are all over the place, and they like Sinatra and like all kinds of stuff, but they're always singing along with it. But Jeremy, like, it'll be February or January in North Idaho. We're in the hot tub, it's snowing, and he's listening to like slap key guitar from Hawaii. And I'm like, Jeremy, this doesn't even match the vibe.
It feels like home.
No. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I just don't get to explore my own music. But if I'm controlling the radio, it's country.
Okay. We like country music together as a family. I mean, we got the banjo here. We like country music. we're kind of all over the place. As long as it's good music, what we consider good music.
Yeah.
That's what we
I
like.
also like angry 90s girl music.
Okay. Some
Remember
Avril
that
Lavigne?
whole era? It was like
Morissette?
with like Alanis Morissette and the
Yeah.
whole all that. Like I used to jam to that.
Okay.
We 90s girl music.
We're
Oh,
90s
that's
kids.
Yeah, we
yeah.
are.
Yeah.
I grew up going to concert. My dad took me to see Richard Marx, my first concert, and took me to see Rod Stewart for my 13th birthday. And then
Oh, wow.
ended up working for Universal Records when I first moved to Seattle for a year. And so I got to go to a bunch of concerts at that time. And when I first moved up, I was 21. I was living behind the Pepsi sign in Queen Anne there. And went over to see a band called Linkin Park play for $10 at the Showbox. And I was like, man, this is awesome. So always been into music. My wife and my kids, we all love music. We don't know how to play anything. We own 2 guitars and, you know, we sit around and jam on music, but don't know how to play anything. But
yeah, Seattle in the 90s was the place. It was just like grunge capital.
Yeah.
Great era.
Yeah.
So much fun there. Man, Jeremy and Melissa, you guys are absolute world changers. I love what you guys are doing. Know that you guys are making an impact through your podcast, through your YouTube channel, and through your own kids are out there impacting people too. So I just want to just say that from one person to another, you guys are doing an amazing job as parents and raising great kids and just doing an awesome job impacting. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate you.
Very kind. Thanks so much, Erik.
Hey, if you've ever thought about starting a podcast but unsure where to go, you need to go check out erikallenmedia.com. Click on the resources tab there. I will walk you through how to start, launch, and run a podcast. I've recorded over 500 interviews since 2017, and I want to help you launch your podcast. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you catch every show when I drop them. Thanks again. Keep changing the world.